also really important. Do not use anybody else's success or do not use anybody else's position as your barometer. Where somebody is has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the way the universe has moved around them. The universe is very big, filled with lots of things, and you cannot expect for 1 second that the universe will move around you and through you the way it does with another person. Do not use other people as a barometer for your own success or lack thereof.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Robert Ciprian with Conversations of Transformation. And have my friend Vita here with me again, who always helps me out these podcasts so much. Hi, Vita.
Hi. Thank you for having me. And thank you, Ashish, for joining us.
Yeah, today
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Today we have Ashish Alfred, who's a very well-known DC area, Baltimore area chef. And, I've been to some of his restaurants, have been really great. His food's amazing. But when I found out his personal stories, I just thought he was like all the way cooler because he's been through a lot of stuff in life and, he made life happen for him. You've seen him on TV all over the East Coast here, up in New York, and you were up in TV in New York too, right, Ashish?
Correct.
Yeah, New York, DC area, Baltimore. So I just wanted to talk to him and, I never really got to have these conversations with you and I see in the restaurants of kind of your personal life, things you've been through. So I wanted to invite you on here, just talk with us a bit today.
Well, thanks for having me. And I'm happy to talk about whatever, I feel like, being transparent about things has been actually more helpful to me than I expected it to be. Being able to share my kind of experience, strength, and hope a little bit has been very beneficial to me. It's kept me accountable, not only to myself, but to other people in the world. So.
Yeah, it is. So having the openness, it's such a real power for you. And it kind of shocks other people sometimes too. It just kind of makes them wake up. It's kind of a great thing, I think.
Yeah.
So my friend Vita has been researching you a little bit. I think she said she's going to try to make one of your beet salads that you were demonstrating or something like that.
Yeah, I'm from Russia and we love beets, and I saw your recipe. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. Seems easy and delicious.
I think one of your most famous dishes has beets, right? Dressed herring?
Yeah. Or borscht.
Correct? Yeah. Yeah, borscht. Yep.
So when did you get into the culinary arts? Is this something you always had an interest in, or is this something later in life you found out about, jumped into?
I think as a kid, I was interested in cooking, and I never thought it was something that I was going to do professionally, but the idea of food and cooking and restaurants, they always kind of intrigued me. And my father fancied himself quite the chef, and a lot of times he would make stuff that was actually really good. So I never thought I'd get into it professionally, but it was always something that piqued my interest.
That's great. And so, I found out a little bit about some of the rougher spots in life you've been into and everything. And how did you really make your career happen from where you were in life?
I think that unfortunately for a lot of drug addicts and alcoholics, it's easy to hide in the restaurant business because, it's changing now. I believe that it is changing now. But, when I was coming up in restaurants as a barback or as a bartender or, as a host or as a line cook or whatever, there was a lot, and there still is, a lot of drinking and drugging that takes place in the restaurant business. So it's easy to just assume that that's normal. It's normal to go out and have 9 or 10 or 12 or 15 drinks in a night. It's normal to, pop a couple Percocet to get over, the achiness of a busy Friday night, so that you can go in and be solid for a Saturday night. It's normal to, do a little Coke or do whatever is available to you just to kind of help you get through. So I think that that's how I was able to be successful and kind of I don't want to say successful because I wasn't. I don't think that that was a measure of success. But I think it's the reason I was able to get away with it for so long, because it didn't really stand out as bad behavior. Whereas if I had, another kind of job where, if I was working in an office, or if I was, another type of, blue collar or white collar worker, then, it would have stuck out like, holy crap, this guy's, he's an alcoholic, he's got problems. He's not defendable.
Yeah, yeah. Just the environment you're in just makes that okay. I totally understand that. Yeah. What was the biggest thing that made you want to change?
Growing up, I've always had a very close relationship with my mother. My mother, for a lot of my childhood, was a single parent. I saw firsthand the effects of alcoholism. I was for a long time victim of my father's alcoholism. My mother was as well. My oldest brother was an alcoholic also. So I saw firsthand, what addiction and alcoholism can do to people and to a family. And I think that I, for a long time, refused to believe that I actually had a problem, because I wasn't doing the same things that my father did. And I wasn't doing the same things that, my brother was doing. And, I was working, I was holding down a job, and I was a pretty good cook. So, in the end, to answer your question in a long way, in the end, it was my mother. It was I felt internally like I was over it. I was miserable. I was not happy. I was in a constant state of, shame and anguish, and, both physically and mentally and, emotionally as well. Then my mother, she drew the line in the sand. And for me, it was strange because I'd never seen her or heard her say those words to my father, never heard her say those words to my brother. And, they had misbehaved, in my opinion, on a level much grander than what I was doing. So I was like, man, she must really be serious. So when she came to me and she said, listen, I'm not your mother and you're not my son, unless you go do something about yourself. So I showed up to rehab thinking it would be a joke. I was like, yeah, I'll detox for a few days, make everybody happy, get everybody off my back. And then I'll just go back to what I was doing before anyway. I got there and I liked it. I liked feeling sober. I liked not feeling like I was dependent on alcohol and drugs. And I liked feeling in touch with myself and not feeling so numb. So it stuck. But so my mom got me there. How good I felt once I was there kept me there.
Yeah, that is great. Like similar experiences for me growing up. My family didn't directly interfere because they didn't really know what was going on. They just knew stuff was going on. But I felt like an innocence was lost, and I felt shame that I was shaming my family by doing that. So I kind of pulled myself partially out because my grandmother, my mother who raised me, I felt like I was shaming them by what I was doing. And I was also just fed up with the way I was feeling, using different substances as a young man. I would just lay awake at night and be like, why am I doing this? And I pretty much just stopped cold turkey at like 21 years old, everything. That's also when I decided to be a doctor, go to school, do all this other stuff. And I just had to leave behind everything that I knew in New York. And there was a lot of gangs, graffiti, but also all the substance abuse stuff. I just had to get out. I just had to leave. And a few other things spurred me to leave, but I got out of there and went to the exact opposite coast and just immersed myself into learning in school, and I loved it. And it really became my life, just really focusing on feeling good and healthy, and also just like studying my craft also. So I totally get that. That's great. Yep.
That's awesome that you were able to do that, all by yourself. And a lot of people do, a lot of people ask me, well, I can't take time off of work to go to rehab, or I can't check myself into a treatment because I don't have the money, or my insurance doesn't cover it, or whatever. I mean, that was my route, right? That's what I had to do to change my relationship with drugs and alcohol. That may not necessarily be everybody's route. A lot of people show up at their first AA meeting or NA meeting or whatever they decide to do. A lot of people do it on their own. So whatever your path is, there's no right or wrong way to do it. Different strokes, different folks.
Definitely. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I think, I mean, everyone has a different path, whatever's right for them. If they're genuinely looking for something, it'll pop up, whatever they need. It'll show up for them. Definitely.
Yeah.
So Ashish, like when you change your that bad negative routines, right, of drinking and drug abusing. So what changed in your life? Like how long did it take you to actually recover? And then what changed after it? Like did the quality of food change? Did
Yeah, sure. You know, I think that I think for me, what changed the most was, you know, the drinking and the drugging is a symptom. This is my opinion. This is not based on any medical facts. So, you know, people can agree with me or not agree with me. I'm just telling my story. I believe the drinking and the drugging is a symptom of other things. You know, I was drinking and drugging to numb myself to my own insecurities. I was drinking and drugging to numb myself to, you know, maybe some trauma that I had as a child. I was drinking and drugging to, you know, make myself feel better in my own skin. So I think that when I stopped drinking and drugging, it forced me to teach myself to embrace the anxiety, embrace the insecurity, embrace, you know, all those things that I tried so hard to run from, to embrace those and look them in the face and be like, hey, you're feeling X because of Y. And I think that being able to take that kind of look at myself and being able to hold myself that accountable, I think that helps me move forward by leaps and bounds in my business. I'll speak about my business in particular. You know, the chef world or the culinary world is a very ego-driven world. Chefs don't like to be told that, you know, their food is, you know, not as good as it could be, or restaurateurs don't like to be told that their restaurants are not as awesome as they could be. That was not the case for me. You know, when I got sober, it put me in a place where I was not working and operating so much from a place of ego. I had my mouth shut and my ears open, and I was very anxious to hear everything everybody had to say to me. I felt very grateful to be in the position that I was in and to have people who wanted my best, who had my best interest at heart. So I think what really changed for me, to answer your question in brevity, what really changed for me is I stopped operating from a place of ego. I stopped soothing myself constantly, and I became more accountable to myself.
I love that. I agree. I agree that, you know, that alcohol and drug abuse is just numbing that insecurities and whatever. So I'm actually happy to hear that you're strong enough to look inside and embrace it.
Yeah. And, you know, I think, listen, I think it's important to say, and I always like to say this, I don't think that, I have no problem with, I have to be careful how I say this, but I'm not an enemy of drugs and alcohol. You know, I believe that there are some people that can go out and recreationally drink and recreationally drug, and they're going to be just fine. They're going to go on to live happy, healthy, you know, fruitful lives. I am just not one of those people.
Yeah, there's some people that will grab onto anything to fill a void in their life. And that could be exercise, that could be work, that could be sex, that could be shopping. So some people, they just grab onto something and use it as a vice. And yeah, some people could, you know, use drugs and alcohol, and they don't need it to really feel like this void in their life. They, you know, they use it a little bit where their life is very manageable.
Correct. You know, and I think that, you know, for me, one of the hardest things post sobriety, and still a challenge for me sometimes, is just to be still with my own thoughts. That doesn't mean that I'm meditating. I'm not in child's pose. I am not in any of those things. I mean, like, I have a day off. And some days I don't know what to do with myself. That can be the hardest thing, I think, not only for an addict, but I think for anybody. You know, I think if you ask a lot of people, what's the hardest thing to do? One of the hardest things to do is just to sit still and be by yourself.
Yeah,
It's
it's
important.
I feel it's something that, yeah, I mean, most people in, our society, our culture, just they've never probably done that in their life.
Yeah.
So for you, and for me, I see you as a very successful restaurateur. I mean, you're opening up another new restaurant now. You've had some, I think, what I see as success with other restaurants and stuff like that. You've had success in the media. What do you think it really takes to succeed at like what you're doing, but also just in general in life? What does it take to succeed and really be great in life at what you're doing?
I mean, I believe that everybody has to come up with their own measure of success. To some people, success might mean, to the family that can't conceive a child, success could mean having a healthy baby. To the dyslexic boy that can't read, success could mean being able to, stand up and read a speech to 150 people. So I think success is measured by different people depending on where, depending on their perspective. But I think that, if you're going to be a cook or an athlete, or if you're going to be good at anything, and I think that's maybe more what you're asking, but I think if you're going to be good at anything, I think that, there's no substitute for experience and repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Stop telling yourself there's a shortcut. Yes, are there people that walk down Park Avenue and get found by a model scout and then end up on the cover of, Vogue? Yeah, but not many. Are there people that are just genetically fantastic? They can work out once a week and they have the body of an Adonis. Yeah, but they're few and far between. I think stop telling yourself for 1 second that there's an easy way. If you say, let's say, I'll just talk chefs for a second. If you say, man, I can be a great chef because I know a really easy way to do this, you're fucked. There's no way. I think that if you're going to be good at anything, then decide that you are going to relegate your life and livelihood to that thing.
Yeah, what's that quote? Instead of doing, make sure you're being what you want to be. You really gotta, I feel that you really have to you have to make it part of your life. Like what you want to be, you got to make that your life and live it and breathe it and immerse yourself in it.
Yeah, and there's no substitute for doing. I'm not saying that, jump off the cliff with a blindfold on, but, sometimes I think people plan or research themselves out of actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
The number of people, I am no fitness guru. I found the gym, about a year and a half ago, and I realized that when I was going regularly, it really helped me with some of my like depression and my anxiety, and I was eating more regularly and sleeping better. So I just kept doing it. But, one of the things that I get asked a lot, because I post topless on Instagram a lot. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, well, I want to go to the gym. I just don't know what to do. And it kind of like, it's hard for me not to look at people and be like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? How is that a question? Like you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google, YouTube, like anything is better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
and then people's excuse will be, well, I was, my friend works out, so I'm trying to like get on my friend's schedule so that I can go, with them. I'm not saying don't like take the advice of an experienced person. At the end of the day, I have a great trainer who I rely on, but if I can't meet with him, I'm not going to not go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, you gotta just
do it. You just got to do it. There's no substitute for doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. That's just, it's the hard part sometimes to suck at something new. And that's why people are afraid to jump in and do things. They don't want to suck at something new. Like we were talking about before, they just want to start and be great at it right off the bat. They want to know everything off the bat. And that could lead to a paralysis. It really can.
Yeah, I agree.
So I also wanted to ask you. So you said that you're also always interested in cooking, and so, but did you have a dream, like to become a chef or open the restaurant? Was it your dream as a child?
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
So it
No,
kind of
as a
brought
child,
you.
I wanted to. As a child, I wanted to be a policeman or a firefighter, something like that. I didn't have that dream. For me, I went to culinary school on a farce. I needed an excuse to get to New York City. I had failed out of college twice, and I needed to tell my parents that I was going to do something with my life. So I found this culinary school that was in the middle of Manhattan, and I was like, well, this looks like fun. So I was like, I'll go to school. I'll get the party in the middle of New York City. This is going to be great for me. And I went there and I fell in love with it. I absolutely fell in love with it. I fell in love with the regimen of cooking. I fell in love with how militaristic, professional cooking is. So no, I had no dreams, or aspirations to be like some, great restaurateur. That wasn't the goal for me. I do now, but I didn't as a child.
You do have now. So it kind of, when you start, like you start working on your path, like kind of the doors are open, right, for you, and the bigger dreams are open for you, I guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's like Rumi said, I think, right? You start walking and the path appears, something like this.
And something I also want to ask you is, because I know many business owners deal with this and stuff too. How do you deal with failures?
I mean, I'm a cook. I fail every day. You overcook something, you undercook something, you overblanch something, you underseason something, you drop a tray of something hot, you don't plate something quite as perfectly as you can. I think failure happens. I guess you could call it failure. I failed many times. I failed. I had a restaurant, 4935 Bar and Kitchen. That failed. I reopened it as a steakhouse. That failed largely in part of the pandemic, but that was, at the end of the day, it was a failure. I failed regularly. I've been trying to shop a television show or shop myself as a talent for a television show. And, I've been hearing no quite regularly. I mean, I'm sure that at the bottom of all these no's, there's going to be a yes, but I think failure is just an opportunity. I mean, I hate to sound this cliche, but it's just an opportunity to learn and to go about doing things in a different way. You can't let failure get you down. I mean, if you are moving towards a goal in earnest, right? If you tell me that you want to be in the NBA tomorrow and, you've shot 10 basketballs in your whole life, yeah, pound sand. No chance. That's not going to work. But I think if you're moving forward deliberately and if you're taking the right steps and doing everything that you can and kind of keeping your side of the street clean, I believe that, failure is just an opportunity to do things a different way.
That's great. That's great. Well, before we let you go here, Ashish, anything else that you'd want to share with us here?
No, I mean, I know that it is. I guess the only thing I would say is I know that you guys talk a lot about transformation and your show is about transformation, and I think that I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, it's too late for this," or "I can't do that," or I had my chance to do this, and I got to tell you, if it didn't work for you in your 20s, it'll work for you in your 30s. If it didn't work in your 30s, it'll work in your 40s. If it didn't work in your 40s, it'll work in your 50s. My father had a few nuggets of wisdom. And he said, no matter how old you are, you're too young to be anything but happy.
That's beautiful.
No matter what, if you're on this side of the dirt, there's an opportunity to do what it is that you want to do.
That
And
is,
I think
that's
that
so true.
it's also really important. It's also really important. Do not use anybody else's success or do not use anybody else's position as your barometer. Where somebody is has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the way the universe has moved around them. The universe is very big, filled with lots of things, and you cannot expect for 1 second that the universe will move around you and through you the way it does with another person. Do not use other people as a barometer for your own success or lack thereof.
Yep, that's something I struggled with for years. I know that one personally, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Of course. Guys, thank you so much for having me on and for talking to me. This conversation's been really, really great, and I'm going to have a better day because of it.
Hey, that is great, and so grateful for you to share some of your wisdom here and some of your story. And yeah, I'm looking forward to some good food and some of your places again soon.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.